Hello, my name is Darrell Robert Schoon, and I have the distinct pleasure, and so do you, of being here with Reverend Betty Tatalajski, the founder of the Temple of Universality, and the carrier and teller of many amazing stories.
True stories.
True stories. That's good.
Yes, because as we get into the program, you'll think that I'm making them up. I'm not. It's wonderful to be with you again, friends. And we love being able to share with you. And aren't we just so fortunate to live in Arizona, this most wonderful state? And these experiences, most of them, I've had here in Arizona. You know, we talk about the Aquarius a lot. I'm sitting by one over here.
Inadvertent.
So it's no accident, actually, that he and his beautiful wife, Martha, have come to join us here at the temple and in Arizona, because we're all Arizona's Aquarian alchemist. You know, we see the transformation that's happening up and down our East Coast, and there are what we perceive to be tragedies going on, and our heart is really moved for that. So you can see how fortunate we are to be where we are. Of course, there are no accidents and there are no coincidences, but we are celebrating this Aquarian consciousness, the New World consciousness called universalism or universality. We have been told recently by our great spirit teachers that we must communicate with the spirit of Arizona because of the great plan that is in place for the world and the plan that is in place here in Arizona. For we have been fortuitous enough to be brought to this place, and we're not here just as strangers or visitors, actually. You know, you were handpicked to be here. Some of you, within the sound of my voice, will think that's malarkey, as the Irish say, but it isn't really. So I want to talk about one of the prize communities that we have here in Arizona. Now, we're going to talk about the Hopis today, and of course, Hopi means peace. So here we are in this Native American, Indian, we call it, state. And of course, we know that the Indians, the American natives, have been here a long time. All of them. Many, we call tribes, they call nations. But we happen to have here at the Four Corners area of Arizona and the other 3 states up here. But the Hopi Reservation is in Arizona. It's on 4,000 acres, 4,000 square miles, surrounded by 24,000 square miles of the Navajo Reservation. Now, in the past, and not a long past actually, all of that was Hopi land. The Hopis say that they are the first people in these, what we call, United States. Of course, they did not originate here, but they came into the fourth world here. There are other places down in South America that they've lived, and so many places over such a long period of time. It's interesting in this ancient history of the Hopi that they have never attacked or gone to war against other people. They have preserved the integrity of their Hopi culture. We would call it religion, but they don't. It is their lives and their culture. They are such a blessing to the world. About 25 years ago, I met a lovely woman who, when I was talking about the Hopis, and I had been to the Hopi reservation and was awed by my experiences there. And she said, well, I'll tell you something I've never told anybody else. She said, I was up at the Painted Desert and the Monument Valley and all of this. And I went directly to the Hopi reservation. They were very sequestered at that time, and there was not a lot of public information really about the Hopis. And she said, I stopped my car on a highway up there. There was no traffic at all in any direction, and you could see for miles. And she said, as I got out, a man appeared in front of me, and he said, welcome, we've been expecting you. And she said it was only a spur of the moment that she even drove into this vacant country as we see it. And she says, well, I didn't know I was coming. He said, but our Tibetan brothers told us that you were coming and you are welcome. And he just disappeared. He didn't walk off, he disappeared. Now, some of you, many of you, have not had probably an experience like that, and some of you have, but you have never told anybody about it, okay? And she didn't expect in her lifetime to tell anyone else, but I knew what she was saying. I had the good fortune about 25 years ago to go to the last session, I would say, ritual, celebrating the end of the corn season. Now, what I am saying would make no sense to the Hopi because they have different words for it, and it is impossible for me to express the reverence and the sanctity of that place and that ritual. I happened to be at the last ritual that was open to the public concerning the end of the season, as it were, in August, to send the Kachinas back to the San Francisco peaks. Now, we know that corn, when we think of the Hopi, we think of corn, like the corn mother here. This priceless little artifact here represents the corn mother. The corn represents the male and the female, and actually life. Corn is life. And so it's very important to the Hopi to have the corn. Well, of course, they don't have a spigot and a well to draw from. Very little precipitation from the sky to water that corn. And so they depend upon the spirit world, their brothers and sisters, family in spirit, and the great Kachinas, the spirit of life. And so they had a crop of corn, and the Kachinas had been watering it for them during the whole season. Now it's time for them to say thank you. Now you can return to the Flagstaff area in the mountains. And this ritual ceremony was open to the public. It amazed me that it would still be open to the public when the people, hundreds of people in attendance, were so irreverent. Where's the Coca-Cola stand, and are you going to da-da-da-da-da? Now, we have been invited to sit on their houses. They're not very tall. They had a ladder out here, and we got to sit and in a circumference around a small area where the corn dancers were going to do the ritual for the Kachinas. I thought I was awed, first of all, of the generosity of the people, and second of all, the sanctity of the ritual. There were about 10 or 12 what we call dancers, and male dancers. They had the snake rattles, the rattlesnakes on rattles on their ankles. They had been fasting for a long time for this experience, and they got in a circle, and with a very low drum beat, they started drumming on the planet because they are very soft in their moccasins. They walk gently on the earth because it is the drumbeat of the earth. It's the skin of the mother. And so, as they were gently tapping with their feet and moving slowly, some of the women came out and put the cornmeal on their feet. And it was a very spiritual experience watching this. Hadn't a clue what was going on, but after quite a while, in that cloudless sky, a dot appeared about this big, a cloud this big. Now, as I watched it, the cloud got bigger as they kept drumming on the earth with their feet. The cloud got bigger. Now, you know how hot it is here in southern Arizona. Well, it's nothing compared to a treeless place where there are no bushes. At least 120, and I'm sure it was more than that. That cloud got about 5 feet wide, 4 feet high, and it moved itself over to the cornfield adjacent, but down quite a ways. And it emptied its rain over the cornfield. And then it disappeared. I watched that happen for many hours. They did it at least 6 times because the corn was going to need it for quite a while. And so this was their thank you to the Kachinas. Thank you for our sacred Hopi mother and for our life. It's been quite a while, but I have never forgotten the sanctity of it. And that is an example of the spirit of Arizona. It's always here. We live and move and have our being in spirit. We call the great creative spirit God. They have a different name for this great spirit, and it's called Masa'u, Masa'u, Masa'u. Well, they're entitled, since they probably know the Great Mother more than some of us do, but they don't deal in controversy. They don't demand things, but they do ask fairness. Fairness. They say that we are like all other people, waiting for what we call a savior. They do not. They are waiting for Pahana, Pahana, the one that everybody is waiting for. Now, we call this one, in the West mostly, we call this one Jesus, okay? There are many people who say that Jesus will come again on a cloud. Well, everyone's entitled, but they call him Masa'u. Now, there are so many names for this Messiah who is going to bring change and peace. Most of us are familiar with the Maya's bearded white god Kukulkan, the Totalkan, and the Aztecan Quetzalcoatl. We're all familiar with those names. But we call it God. They call him Masa'u. And please, beloved Hopi friends, I'm doing the best I can. I cannot. It's probably been a long time since I was a Hopi, okay? And so forgive my my Southern accent. The spirit is in, your spirit is in my heart. I just don't have the experience in speaking. Another thing that I find interesting is that even though we move our mouths a lot and talk a lot, the sanctity of the Hopi voice, the words, the speech, most of you don't have to even open your mouth. You're able, as many Tibetans, as the great Tibetan Lamas, your vocal cords emit the voice, and you don't have to move your mouth a lot. I find that fascinating. Maybe a lot of people don't, but I do. I think that's incredible because it's the spirit within that is mouthing these words. Well, anyway, most of you know that the government and a lot of us have not been very kind to the Indians in this country, in their country, and certainly this is true of the Hopi, simply because they don't go to war. They don't go to war. Oribe should be a national, is a national treasure, and should be a national monument. It's the oldest continually occupied village, settlement, they say, in America. Most people have not heard of Oribe, but I think we should, and I think that we should pay homage and respect and listen to the words of these great people. Frank Waters did. You know, 10 or 20 years ago, one of the main topics of the anthropologist getting their degree, I would say, was trying to find the secrets of Native Americans. As I traveled around so many places to Native American gatherings, there were always those who were writing a book or, and didn't have a clue about the spirit that was going on here. But Frank Waters was different. It was timely, and this man was sent to garner information, sacred information, and he did. And for that particular time, because there is a time for everything, and timing is everything. And Frank Waters went up there, lived with the Hopi, and became friends with 30 of the elders. And the book that he wrote, that was sanctioned by the Hopi, The World of the Hopi, Frank Waters, we owe him great tribute, and those 30 elders who shared what we perceived mystical magic. Beloved friends, there is no magic. There is no magic. It's only a mystery, how we have called civilization for such a long time without the magic of the mind. Now, we know that our beloved Jesus said, "As a man thinks it is." I wonder what we thought he was saying all that time when he made the statement, "As a man thinks it is." We are beginning to understand that all energy in which we live and move and have our being is conscious energy. Energy/spirit. It's all there. Energy is spirit, and spirit is energy. And so according to your degree of awareness of different levels of consciousness, it's going to affect you differently. Now, if you are a mean-spirited, depressed person, because depression will make you mean, then what you think when this depression, folks come in and say, "You want to be depressed? Well, I've been depressed here in spirit world for a long time. Let's go have a beer. Let's go get drunk, and let's have some dope if you have it, okay?" But whatever you think, there are those in this what we call spirit world who are ready to assist you. If you would like to know some of the secrets, because there are no secrets, there are only people who are uninformed, okay? Ask, as Jesus said, and it will be given. Ask, seek, and knock. It's past time to retain our ignorance. It's time for us to come into the light, the wisdom that is inside. And remember, as all the great ones have said, ye are gods. It's time that we appreciate that, celebrate that, and try to figure out what a God would do. It's good to talk with you, friends. Come to the temple. It's real simple. Celebrate with us.
You have just heard a little bit from this extraordinary person, Reverend Betty Tatalajski. In 1979, she was told by the masters that she would found a new philosophy, but not a religion in the traditional sense. A philosophy that basically said there's truth in everything, there's truth in all religions, there's truth in everyone's path. If that's your path, 11 a.m. every Sunday, the Temple of Prince and Country Club at the Masonic Temple, the Temple of Universality with Reverend Betty Tatalajski.
And my friend Geronimo.
This is a story.
This is